Hey you guys, I just received these brush markers from Karin Markers, that's the brand name, and I normally don't share markers that I receive from people until I have reviewed them for quite a while and tried them out myself so that I can give you a full review. However, I really like these a lot, so I thought I would give you an initial review, and then once I use them for a little bit and try out all the different techniques with them, then I will give you a more complete review. These come from Poland, that's where the manufacturer is, and it is a small manufacturer. It's not like a huge company, so it's supporting something small, which I really like. So this is the Brush Marker Pro pack, and the box is really cool. It's like this little square, and then it's a magnet right there, and you open it up and there are 60 colors, and there are 3 blender brushes. It also comes with this little booklet, which is cool, so it shows how to use them. It shows different ways to blend them, so I'm excited to try out those different ways. And then it also shows how to store them, and I really like this because you never know with different brush markers, so I like that they were very thorough in saying that they should be tips facing up, so exactly how the box is, this is how they should be stored. And then on this side it says that it contains paint. It also says they maintain the color intensity up to the last drop, which is really cool because you can actually see the liquid moving around in it. And let's see, what else does it say? They have super durable and flexible nylon tip, which it does feel very durable to me. It contains non-toxic color paints, which are either dye-based or pigment-based. And then in parentheses it says neon colors. So I'm wondering which ones are the neon colors. I can't tell here because it does make a difference. If it's dye-based, then it's probably not light fast and can fade in the sun. If it is pigment-based, then it won't fade in the sun. So that means that you could have very high-quality professional designs made with these brush markers. Okay, so I'll show you them in a little bit, but let's move on to the metallic markers. So the metallic markers come with 10. And I really appreciate the lid because it is attached, and I like that because sometimes I have a tin and then you take the lid off and you don't know what to do with the lid. So I like that it's attached. I love tins, so I love markers in tins. And then this one also comes with a little sheet. And for these ones, they are supposed to be stored sideways, horizontally like this. So I like that because that's how they came in, so it was perfect. You'd think that would be a given, right? But it's not. So markers, you honestly have no idea which way is better to store it. And then it talks about the color durability. It talks about shaking the markers, how to keep it from drying out. These ones, it does say that they are pigments, metallic pigments, so they won't fade in the sun. They will be light fast. This says you can use it on paper, wood, ceramics, glass, metal, plastics. And it even says right there they will not fade, which is true because it's a pigment. So I love how thorough they were in all of this. That's awesome. Okay, so now I'll show you how they work. So one thing that I like right from the start is how you can see that ink in there. If I move this, then the ink flows down. So that's really cool. You can see exactly how much ink it is, and it's going to be definitely more juicy. So these brush markers, they shipped in 4 days, which is way fast for international shipping. They did tell me there's a possibility they will be selling them in the US, if there's enough interest. You can buy them from Poland. I looked at the price with shipping, and actually the big box of 60 is cheaper than if you buy the whole box of Tombow, the 96 pack of Tombow brush pens. It's cheaper even with international shipping. It's still quite an investment, so they're probably not for someone who thinks that they're not going to be lettering for long. If you're just starting out, playing around, they might not be right for you. If you're a little more serious and you want to get your hands on something that is going to last a little bit longer, these ones are a great choice. These reminded me so much of the Sharpie Stained, and I mean, you can even see, I don't know if you can tell in this lighting, but you can see the ink flowing in here, just like the Karin Markers. And everybody that I know who has tried these, they are a favorite because they're so durable, they're so juicy, and the brush tip is the perfect bounce. And what's cool is these Karin Markers, just on my first try, I think they're better. I obviously still need to try them out more so I can give you a full review and after I've been trying them for a few days, but this is just my initial reaction. They are pretty awesome. In my full review, I will letter with the Sharpie as well so you can see the comparison. You can see that they bleed through the paper the same amount. They're both really juicy. Sharpie Stained is not water-based, so they won't blend as well as Karin Markers. And I noticed that the nib is very similar with bounce, it's just slightly smaller. And also, Sharpie Stained only comes in like 8 or 10 colors, I think it's 8. I've always wished that they made more colors of these, and now I feel like my wish is coming true with Karin Markers, and they're way better colors because all the Sharpie Stained are like really bright neons, which is fine if you just want neons, but I only use pink and black basically. So now these Karin Markers are like, you know, gorgeous, gorgeous colors. Okay, so the metallic, I shake it and you can kind of hear there's a little something in there to mix up all of the ink, so that's great. These metallic markers are definitely the most juicy metallic markers I've ever tried. I would definitely recommend testing it in a small area before doing it on your piece, because I noticed that sometimes more of the ink was coming out right at first until it kind of got used to it. And you can see on black paper it looks way cool as it dries. It definitely has that silver look on the top, so I really, really like the look of these on black or white. I like the colors. I have the Futabiyori Kuretake, and I like them too, but I don't like the colors as much, and they're definitely not as juicy. But I will do a video to show you those in comparison, since they are both really good metallic markers. Personally, I like these ones better, but I will show you in a video the difference with those. Next, I spent about an hour swatching these, so this is a very, very sped up version of this. And I noticed that the grays were not as juicy as the other ones. The first square is the color by itself, the second square is blending it using the blender pen, and then the third one is blending it with water, and the last one is the wet on wet technique, where I just wet the paper and then I draw a line with the marker. So you can see that it really is like watercolor, because no other markers can have that wet on wet technique, that it looks like an actual drop of watercolor in your water. So with the grays, I had some difficulty with the blender pen. It kind of scraped off the paper a little bit, but I didn't have that problem with the rest of the colors, so that's why I was thinking that maybe the rest of the colors somehow are more juicy. Doesn't really make sense, but that's all I could think of. And then I did also notice that the color changed just slightly if I used the blender pen versus just the water brush, and that is because this blender pen, it's not water, in the pen. It's a special liquid, so it's a little thicker than water. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is definitely a little bit thicker, almost oily, but it's not oil, so I don't know. But it still blends very well with the blender pen, but I did like it better with water personally, but I do love using my water brush, so that is definitely a personal preference kind of thing. But I love all of the color choices of these markers. There are so many good colors. They are so vibrant. It really does feel like I'm using watercolor from a felt tip. There really is no other brush pen that can do this well. I did notice some of the names of the colors are spelled wrong, like Egyptian blue right there. It's a Y, not an I. So that, I mean, that's not that big of a deal, but I just thought it was weird. There's also, they spell lilac with a K in one, and then red lilac is with a C. And then lipstick red, lipstick, they spelled it without a K. And then there's some skin colors, which I don't like. They have like skin 1, skin 2. I like how Crayola does it with peach and apricot. And then the blush, I would say, didn't really feel like a blush color to me, but these are just little picky details that don't really make a difference because it doesn't really matter what your colors are called. You can call them whatever, really. And there's also numbers along with it, so you could just call it the number instead. And really, if I have a problem with 5 colors out of the 60 pack, I think we're doing pretty good. I just love all of the variety of colors that come with this. It makes me feel like a full watercolor palette. So that's another thing too. Yeah, maybe you're spending more money on these brush markers, but it's basically like you're getting watercolor and brush markers in one. You may have noticed that I was using watercolor paper with these. I normally never use watercolor paper for brush pens because I don't want them to fray, but you can see here, this is how I use the blender pen. I use this really cheap paper to get off all of the extra ink, and it did kind of discolor the brush tip, but it didn't fray. So I tried it here on smooth paper because you'd be able to see if it did fray at all, and you can see I got really smooth lines. It wasn't a problem. I noticed that the nib was a little more flexible than before, so it definitely will wear down, but I think it will take a really long time to actually wear out these brush markers. So I am not afraid to use them on watercolor paper, which is awesome because I never want to use my brush markers on watercolor paper, although it blends much better than on regular paper. I tried blending these on smooth HP Premium Choice LaserJet paper and it tore up my paper, so I would recommend when you do blend with these, use watercolor paper or mixed media paper. These brush pens definitely are the easiest brush pen I've ever used to blend. So if you've struggled with blending before on other brush markers, try these ones because I think you're gonna find that they are super easy and super helpful for blending. So in the end, I would highly recommend these markers. Yes, they will be an investment, but they are watercolor plus brush markers. These brush markers are different from any brush markers I've had because the nib is so good, so durable, and the watercolor ink is so juicy and comes out really well. So highly recommend these. I hope you liked this video. I hope this helped. If you have any questions or if you agree with me, if you tried these, let me know in the comments below, and subscribe for more pen reviews, and I will see you next time.